for the night before, and Scottie Bordelon joins us, WholeHogSports.com, who was there, took pictures, was a part of it. Scottie, what was it like?
Oh man, that's a pretty loaded question. It was one of the more remarkable nights in the history of Bud Walton Arena. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I mean, the building's been open since 93, 94 season. I should preface this with, I'm a pretty young guy. I'm 28. So when the game ended last night, I leaned over to one of the guys that I work with, who's been covering Arkansas basketball for several decades now, and I asked him just, where do you feel like this night ranks in the building's history? And the only games that he could really point to that might exceed it were, the big blowout win over Missouri. I think it may have been the second game that Arkansas played in Bud Walton, and then he pointed to the 99 win over Auburn when Auburn was number 2, and then I think it was last night. I mean, it was pretty incredible start to finish. Like, students were on Monday afternoon, they started lining up to get in line to get the best seats available when the doors opened Tuesday evening, about 4:30. I think Arkansas and its fans, they really seized the moment and kind of made it one of the more unforgettable atmospheres that I think Arkansas had in Bud Walton.
Scottie, this is a team, Arkansas, that early this year, maybe people thought they'd lost a little bit of their luster coming off their deep NCAA tournament run last year. But are they starting to maybe come around a little bit more the last couple of weeks?
Oh, for sure. I think you don't have to go any farther than, this team finally found an identity, and it's on the defensive end of the floor. I can't help but think back to, mid to late December, I traveled down to North Little Rock, and Arkansas was hosting Hofstra. I can't even remember what conference Hofstra is in, but Arkansas lost to them. And they just got picked apart in middle pick and roll by a guy that he transferred from Arkansas to Hofstra. He played like 2 minutes over 2 seasons, and then he went for like an 18-point, 14 rebound double against Arkansas. And I didn't think Arkansas was going to recover from that. They didn't have a sense of identity whatsoever. And then they start 0-3 in the league, and Eric Musselman just kind of he has a heart-to-heart with himself, and he asked himself what his dad, his late dad, Bill Musselman, would do. And the answer he kind of came up with was, go big and get tough. And, he rolls out a lineup against Missouri that's basically his best guard. And J.D. Note, I think, is one of the more underrated players not only in the SEC, but the country. And then he put 4 forward-type guys around him. One of them ended up getting hurt in that game and missed a few games after that. But, he put Stanley Amude in that spot, who's one of the nation's best scorers at South Dakota the last several years. And they've taken off ever since. Like, they're just night in, night out defending incredibly well. And I think one of the things that kind of tells you the elite level defense that Arkansas is playing lately, the last 2 teams that have come in to Bud Walton, or Mississippi State and Auburn, they've both been number 1 in SEC games in offensive efficiency, and Arkansas has held both teams to their 3rd worst offensive efficiency rating of the season. So they're defending at a pretty unbelievable clip, and getting pretty good contributions from guys beyond J.D. Note and Jalen Williams, who's I think kind of made his star turn over the last month.
Is Eric Musselman walking around shirtless today?
I would probably bet he's got a shirt on. But
no, that was cool last night, though. I mean, he obviously just totally embraced the pandemonium and the fun and the excitement. I mean, what's it been like to cover him? And, how have Arkansas fans kind of wrapped their arms around him the last 2-3 seasons?
Oh, man, I think it's a love-love relationship when things are going good. But, Eric's he is a man of the people. There's no doubt about it. Like, even Tuesday afternoon, he was out mingling with some of the students who were in line waiting to get into the building. And they struck a deal that, if Arkansas won, that he would take his shirt off, and he followed through on it. So he's a man of his word too. But he's been really been really fun to cover. He's been awful good to me, and he's winning, and I think Arkansas fans love that. And the last 2 years, Arkansas has gotten off to kind of rough starts in SEC play, and people have kind of. I know a lot of people kind of, I don't know if they completely gave up on this team and last year's team after those rough starts, but man, he just finds a way to figure things out. And, that stretch where Arkansas lost 5 out of 6 games in December and early January, that feels like a year ago. I mean, this team's just rolling, and I think he's got some things figured out. And, Arkansas has gone from a team that's, they were on maybe the next 4 out in Joe Lunardi's bracketology to, somewhere maybe along the 7 line. And it's been a pretty remarkable turnaround. Yeah.
And remember last year's run, they were so good. And it's, when they stormed the court and he was a part of that, and Craig brought that up, I heard him in the interview. He was talking in the post-game interview. Did he get his shoulder bumped or something? Because he looks like he's had that the rotator cuff type surgery.
Yeah, he has. So I think it was back in early December. He jumped into one of Arkansas's defensive closeout drills, and one of the guys that he's got in the starting lineup now, Trey Wade, he looks like an SEC type linebacker. I mean, 6'6" and probably 225, 230. He landed on Eric and messed his shoulder up pretty good. And the day after Arkansas beat Missouri earlier in January, he got rotator cuff surgery. He missed the game at LSU. Keith Smart served as Arkansas's interim coach in that game, but Eric only missed 1 game. And so ever since that LSU game, he's been on the sideline with that big bulky shoulder brace on, but he hasn't skipped a beat whatsoever.
All right, so looking at the standings, you got Arkansas right now at 3rd in the SEC at 8-3. 7 games remaining, a couple of road trips coming up here against Alabama and Missouri. How do you kind of view the Razorbacks in their standing right now, and what are you looking at as they get into the nitty-gritty of closing out this regular season?
Yeah, I think Tuesday was a big start, man, because Arkansas, when they made their run in January, there's the Missouri, South Carolinas, Ole Misses, and Georgias of the league that you beat them and you're not going to make much noise doing that. But I think beating Auburn gives this team even more of a momentum boost going into the final stretch of the season. I think Alabama is going to be a really, really tough game on Saturday. I know it's an 11 a.m. tip off. So it won't give Alabama fans as much time to get juiced up for that game, but they'll still be there and loud. But, the way this Arkansas is defending lately, I think they've got a shot. Like, they can hang in every game. And I know the easy thing to say, coming off a high like Tuesday is that, Arkansas is kind of due for a letdown, but I think Eric and his staff are really, really good at getting their guys' attention. They probably spent a lot of time in meeting today, flushing the win last night. Like, last night was incredible. It was remarkable. You deserved your kind of out of body, release from winning that game. They deserved it. You got to flush it because there's lots of good teams left on your schedule. But I give Arkansas a fighter's chance in every game, better than that in some of these games that I'm looking at. But I don't have any doubt that they can definitely compete down the stretch because they have found their identity. They're tough and they're going to defend, and it always helps when you've got the SEC's leading scorer on your side. Yeah,
22nd in Ken Palm's ranking. There were thoughts, like you said about a month ago, did they have enough juice, and just being a part of the conference eventually strengthens that out, just like it does in the Big 12 as well. Texas had the big win they needed against Kansas on Monday. Arkansas, it's not like they were going to miss the tournament, but the win against, obviously, Auburn sure does help quite a bit. We appreciate the time. be a part of that. At the age of 28, being able to already cover something like that had to be fun.
He wasn't alive when they last did the beat it number one in 1984.
And we've discussed that, Scotty. I love that. That was the all white, the whiteout, whatever you want to call it. There was one moment, and I don't know if anyone else caught this, at the end of the game when, was it Arkansas dunked? Did they dunk at the end of the game? And there was an Auburn player underneath, and thank God, and the guy was upset. They lost, and you could see there was a little bit of, but it stopped. Somebody ended that quickly. Thank God that didn't turn out to be worse than it did.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Devontae Davis, he's got a little bit of flair to him, and Jalen Williams grabbed that rebound on Auburn's final miss and kicked ahead to Devo, and he bounced. He basically bounced an oop to himself, and he threw it down. Didn't count, but yeah, Wendell Green wasn't the biggest fan of that. And there's been some pretty good photos going around of Devo hanging on the rim and Wendell Green wishing that he could stop it. It was an unbelievable atmosphere. It was a hornet's nest in there, and a lot of times I think sometimes crowds can maybe get overblown in how much impact they actually have on a game. But I literally think Auburn missed its last 9 free throws that it took, and I remember one point in the second half, Walker Kessler stepped to the line, and I think Auburn was down a point or two, and he misses the first free throw badly when it was just at a fever pitch, and I think it legitimately rattled him. He ended up missing 2 more in overtime, and Katie Johnson missed 2 out of 2 later in the second half. I mean, it was just one of those atmospheres I'll never forget, and it could be another couple like that coming up. As Arkansas still got Tennessee and Kentucky at home on Saturday, so those should be pretty fun.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Scottie Bordelon covers Arkansas, the win against Auburn, WholeHogSports.com. So you had the Texas game, Kansas, and we brought that up yesterday and discussed it quite a bit. But one of the things that really was shocking in that game, not that Texas won the game, they outscored Kansas 9-0 down the stretch. And Kansas, Braun, great free throw shooter, missed a couple of free throws in that game.
Turnover late was really bad, too.
Yeah, I mean, and they had the alley-oop that would have put them up pretty much, maybe the dagger, and it kind of deflected off the rim. They didn't get that done. Abaji was right there to do that. So you have that, and you have Arkansas beating number 1 Auburn. That's why Baylor tonight going into Manhattan, Bramwich, crazy crowd, atmosphere, take care of business against a team that is upset because you embarrassed them the last time you played, and they have to win because of their record at 12-10. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. When we come back, an interesting story involving Jim